welcome. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes, let some people come on, and then I'm going to start. Okay. So I think I'm going to get started soon. So this is going to be the 10th weekly dispenser. My name is Tool. Thanks for coming. I was supposed to do this last week, and I had it all done, like I said, in the thread, but obviously it didn't get up, so I got to cast it, put it up on the YouTube, and get it out there. Basically, the idea is to cover mid-fights for any skill level TF2 player, so hopefully any skill level would get something from watching these kinds of videos. But this one I want to focus on mid-fights in particular. I think mid-fights bring out are kind of like, you say the word mid-fight, it's a very small word, but there's a lot of connotation, there's a lot of meaning behind it, and there's a lot of history, a lot of kind of strategy going into it. So I kind of wanted to spend a lot of time just on introducing the TF2 idea of mid-fight and how it relates strategically to other games, and how we can learn general strategies for winning mid-fights. And I'm going to include at the end a demo, so we are going to do a TF2 demo of Granary between two IM teams that just played, I think, a couple weeks ago. And it was like a 5-4 match, so there's a lot of mid-fights, and basically what we're going to do is just look at the mid-fights and talk about what strategies the teams are employing to counter the other team, and what they think are working, what's not working, and hopefully can learn some of this. Yeah. So, okay, so let's just start. So, again, yeah, this is the 10th weekly dispenser. Is this working? Hello, everyone. Let me make sure. Okay, so, yeah, so I wrote down a lot of shit for this, but I'm going to try to talk through it. See if this, oh, this isn't working. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. So, the idea is that there's this theme in lots of strategy games of a development phase, or categorizing the game into general like periods, such as the beginning of game, opening game, middle game, or end game. And this comes from chess, I think, originally, and has kind of translated to lots of other games. And I think TF2 is no different, where TF2 does have an opening, a mid game, and an end game. And I want to kind of get your idea of where in the scheme of that timeline does the mid-fight occur, and what kind of strategies should we be employing, or how should we think about the mid-fight in this context of a timeline. So let me get this thing going. I do have some pictures. And hopefully, like I said, it will compare it to some other games too. Screen, there we go. Oh no, my screen's not working. Hold on. Maybe this will work? Yeah, this might work. If I do this, does that do anything? Does that look okay? I think so. I might have lost my face, but that's okay. No, that's too big. There we go. Let's do that. Right? This will be good. No. I don't know why it's doing this. I have to fix it. Hold on. Alright, so the idea is, like I said, in chess and lots of other strategy games, you can have a timeline, and the timeline represents the entirety of the game in time. And so as we go left to right, we're changing the value of time in minutes or whatever. And see, you know, in the game, there's also this game time, so there is a game time element to this. In chess, it could be that the tournament is timed, or the game is timed, or in other cases, it can be untimed. But there still is a timeline for the course and the length of the game that it took. And let me see, does this work? Yeah. So if you look at how they classically divide the timeline in chess or other games, like I said, and how we're going to try to analyze TF2 today, hopefully, is to look at it as these 3 stages in the game development, and in the game entirely. So the first stage is called the opening, or the early game, and this is where you start out usually with exactly equal pieces in an equal position, and you're supposed to get your pieces into a good position to do damage or to do something important during this mid-game. The mid-game is usually the action phase, and then the end game is actually the winning of the game, or the ability for yourself to get a draw if it's chess, or if you're trying to stalemate out in StarCraft 2, something like this. There's different endgame strategies that will come to play. And what's important is that a lot of strategy thinkers from the chess in particular have realized that there's different actual strategies that you employ at each stage of the game, and you can actually, like, you know, kind of train yourself. If you just look at chess endgames, you can practice how to checkmate your opponent with just a bishop, just a knight, these kinds of things. And there's actually different strategies that you have to employ for each stage of the game, and that's really important, something that people found, and I think it's common to TF2 as well as many other video games. And also is this a very loaded word of development, is when does development occur? And in chess, this is, like I said, the idea is to get yourself into a position so that you'll succeed in the mid-game. And development is really that process through which you move your pieces to get them on the squares that you want, or into the, if you're thinking TF2, into this position you want on mid, or on this important fight, so that they'll eventually win the fight in the end. And again, like I said, these words all originally came from chess. And in chess, you start with, again, all your pieces in the same position, equal number of pieces, all on the back ranks. And development's really considered for your bigger pieces, but technically you can develop your pawns as well. But the idea is that these central 4 squares are very important, so you always want to get your pawns into these 4 squares. Like, there are themes that a lot of chess openings use to get this done. So these 2 pawns in these squares is very good, as well as having your knights in the middle of the map, so that they can actually have lots of kind of reach, and can put out damage from far away. So that's the idea of development. So you would say that in that case the knights were developed. How does this correlate with other games like StarCraft 2? I think is, like I said, a very good correlate between chess and StarCraft 2. So that we can say, what is the development phase in StarCraft 2? Well, again, the opening, the starting point is you start with the command center and 6 SCVs, or whatever, you know, a Nexus or a hatchery if you're Zerg or Protoss. But you always get 6 workers, and you basically build up whatever army out of your, by building these buildings and then building an army. And this is the idea of a mid-game, where, you know, you're going from opening, developing through into mid-game. And now you have your units, you have all your stuff built, and they're in good position so that they can actually do well in the battle. This is kind of the mid-game, and we can think of this in TF2, or, you know, if you're looking at the map from a third-person perspective, like we will be doing later, you can think that, you know, this looks a lot like a TF2 map from a third-person perspective, where there's all this action going on. And that's kind of what I want people to get thinking about. And Dota 2 has very similar. I'm trying to, you know, say the same thing for Dota 2 as well as StarCraft. So Dota 2 is no different, where it's basically a direct ripoff of chess, where there's a very specific opening where you pick your heroes, you start, and you buy your items. Everyone starts at the same gold, and you buy your items. And what differentiates people are the heroes they pick, as well as their items they get. And in this middle, or I should say this early to mid-game phase, where you actually get gold and get experience by killing creeps, so you can actually individually affect your character's ability to succeed in the mid-game by doing these kinds of good things that would be considered developing your character in the opening. And I think Magic is another example of this. So if you think of card games, even that aren't even before computers, I think Magic is a really good example of why development's important. Is because if you've never played Magic before, it's basically like a Pokemon-based card game or something, where you have different cards with different heroes on the cards, and you also have land and kind of resources and spells, and depending on how you use your resources and spells and your creatures, you'll win or lose. And so it's very similar to StarCraft in that way, where you have to build up slowly and then eventually go kill your enemy. And if you think about it, in these kinds of games, if you do understand their dynamics, when you play a card or a creature card for the first time, you can't actually attack during that first time. So there is there's like this developmental delay. And the same thing's in chess, where you may not have realized it, but the chessboard's actually situated in such a way that when you play your first pieces, no matter where you put your first key pieces, there's usually no way that you're going to actually be attacking an enemy piece unless he's already moved it really far out. So the idea is that there's always these couple of move phases. There's this first, you have to defend, and then you have to attack mindset and I think that comes from these kinds of card games as well. And then you're going to ask, okay, so what about TF2? So I think how does TF2 work on this kind of timeline scale? And if you think about it, I think the mid-fight is actually the opening. So depending on how you roll out, say we're going granary, I would say the opening you choose would be, do you go through choke, or do you go through garage, do you even go through upper? And also, like, what do you do with your other characters? If you're medic, where do your scouts go? Or where does your demo go? Where do your soldiers go? So all this is very much the opening or early phase of the game. And then the mid-game, I would say, would be just after whoever wins the first mid-fight. So at that point, you could say team has a definitive advantage if they've won the mid-fight. Because they have forward spawns, they have the opportunity to continue pushing into the enemy's base. We're thinking about this as a 5 CP map. This could also be a KOF map. You kind of have defender's advantage on the high ground if you're thinking about Viaduct. And then it all has to correlate to winning in the end game, though, because if you win the opening, even if you win the mid game, you can still lose the end game if you don't play correctly. And this is really critical. So if you think about it, say you win mid-fight and you even get to the enemy team's last point, but somehow you aren't able to actually cap the point and they push back and win the round. It's a very good example of winning the other two stages of the game and then still losing the end game. And again, in TF2, I think this development is really just the way that you get your pieces to the mid-fight and where you put the pieces on the mid-fight. So we're going to hopefully try to show that in these demos. I also saw this good, shout out to this thing, there's this good article from the TF2 wiki on mid-fights, and they actually go in a lot of detail on what each class should be doing on mid and things like that. And I'm sure it hasn't been updated in forever, but it was actually really useful and nice to know that it's out there for newer players. So yeah, so let's go into the demo. So now, like I said, I had picked a demo, and this is from the IM playoffs. And now my screen is going to be fucked up. So it's going to be Chill to Good versus Knights of Grills on Granary. And I had watched this last week and written down all the mid-fights ticks. So we're going to hopefully just watch mid-fights and try to analyze which team wins and what they could have done different maybe, or try to see how the teams are adapting. See if this works. I hope my TF2 didn't crash. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. Let's do... Okay, so I hope this is coming through. I did change the scene. This should, yeah, so this should be working. So like I said, Knights of Grills versus Chill to Good ratio. Two really good IM teams this season, obviously. Knights of Grills with their regular season winning streak, and then Chill to Good just showing really good, you know, kind of matches in the playoffs. Props to them. I think both teams were really good this season. And this match really shows it, because it's a back and forth and showing that these teams are really closely matched, I think, in skill, especially when it comes to kind of a really old, stale map like Granary. Let's see if I can get into this. So I'm just, like I said, we're just going to do third person at mid, and hopefully this is going to work out. Like I'm thinking... So this first half, Chill to Good is in red, and the Knights of Grills is in blue. And the first mid fight, we're gonna see, I think one team goes choke. So we're gonna follow, let's try to follow it from the Grills' perspective. So blue, the demo goes through choke and they send 2 scouts top. And now the problem is that the scouts on the point is able to push right across. But I think the good thing is that the rest of the team's here to help out their scouts in the demo. So the 2 soldiers do get there, give the height presence, but now they're kind of trapped in this corner. Let's see what can happen. So red has numbers now, and with the height advantage, nobody's able to compete with them on the high ground. Red's going to be able to win. And they even keep the med up, do they? Nope. So the mid goes down, so nice play by Stradivarius, taking down both pucks, but that's it. That's the point, is watch the mid. So that mid, there's going to be a lot of these. That mid, we saw a pretty typical blue rollout where blue went through choke. They sent 2 scouts up top, which is maybe not always normal, but then they followed it up with the soldiers going up top. And the problem was, I think the DM up top, they weren't able to secure the crates. Red was able to counter jump eventually with the picks, and they were able to win it. So that was the first round, and they actually won that round, I think. So Grills team did win that round. Okay. So again, this is now, I hope this is working. Yep, alright.
The control point is being contested.
So this is the second mid-fight. Knights of Grills just won that round, so they did win the mid-fight, they won the round. See if they do anything different. Alright, so they do the same exact thing pretty much, except they bomb the roamer this time into the enemy choke. They're hoping that the roamer will kind of push across the point, give them enough room to push out. But it doesn't look like it's the case, because the red soldier again takes this close crate and pushes out the medic and scout. Like, you're going to have to back up to yard. So I think red's going to win this, yeah. So blue actually lost a lot of people on that. So again, blue's choosing the choke rollout, but it's not working because they're not winning the crates. And they're not getting out of this little trap area. Like, you gotta get out of this area. That's so deadly. So the next mid fight. So Chill to Good won that, and they're gonna even it up 1-1. They're gonna actually win that round. And we're gonna go to... Okay, same thing. So now, oops. Sorry, I jumped... No, I went too far. My bad. Alright, so third mid fight, 1-1. Chill to Good just won that round. And this should be the third mid fight. Yep. Okay. Here we go. So let's see if blue changes anything. They had been going choke. Hasn't been working out. Alright, same thing. Demo's going choke. Let's see where the medic goes. One scout up top. Roamer trying to do the skip jump. And they're just sticking with it. They're doing the same thing. Now here comes a roamer bomb. So now they actually do have crate presence, but they did let this roamer get in behind. So that's really deadly. They take down Grills. And again, Grills dies. And I think what they're doing is just being really sneaky and just trying to keep their meta is actually doing a good job of staying alive. It doesn't look like Blue's actually putting on any pressure, except for the roamer, really, to kill the medic, enemy medic. Whereas almost all the other teams hunting down Grills. So that round goes to Chill the Good. So now it's 2-1, Chill the Good. Fourth mid-fight.
Alert.
Here we go.
Our control point is being captured.
Again, alright, so they do something different now. So they send the demo through garage. The roamer is now the only one on this right side. And they're trying to take over the enemy side crates, but is it working? Kosa goes on, so the demo goes down. The red medic's stuck up top. This is looking pretty good for blue. So they switch it up, finally, doing something different. And it pays off because the other team wasn't really ready for it. They lulled them into the sense that they were going to do the same thing every time, and this is the last scout, and goes down. Pretty convincing win. So I think the benefits of that was that they still sent the roamer left, which, you know, somebody's going to call that, somebody's going to go to that, that's going to distract at least a scout, and at least, you know, a pocket might look at the roamer's way. Well, meanwhile, the whole other 5 players are pushing that garage size. So that was a good win, and they actually, did they win the mid-fight? I think they did.
Time has been.
See, they win the round, that's the question.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
2-2 now. Alright, so 2-2 now. See if they go garage again. I hope this isn't the same one. This is a different mid fight. Alright, so yeah. I'm watching red. So alright. So where does blue does go garage. 2 scouts up top. Overload garage, send roamer, 1 roamer left. And this works out again. But this is different mid fight, but it works out again. And this, see the 2 soldiers, the red soldiers are just trying to keep this high ground. And it's not working out. Because they're just getting, you know, kind of abandoned. Everything else is going on below them. And now the demo's the last one up, really. Let's see if he's going to die. Nope, they don't get the demo. So they kill 5 and win the point. That's pretty good. And I think they win the round after that. Yeah. So that's actually halftime. So now Grill's team is up 3-2 after the half. After winning that mid fight by going through garage. They've been working garage. See what they do now. So they're going to have to, I should note they're going to change color. So Grill's team's now going to be red.
Alert. Our control point is being captured.
Yeah, so Grill's team's red. They had just won 2 quick rounds of Granary by winning mid-fight effectively by pushing through garage. So let's see if they do it again, or if they choose to go through choke. This is, I think, mid-fight number 6. 2 scouts up top, always. I think that's pretty standard for them. And then the roamer usually goes a different way. Now they actually have the roamer, I don't know what the roamer is. The demo goes out early, so they actually pinch. This was a good play. So they sent their flank around the left crate, and they actually pushed onto the point. So good play by blue to, you know, kind of separate themselves while still staying pretty close. And it really paid off. That was a good DM fight for them, good positioning. Chill the Good wins that round. Did they win that round? I hope so. That's the thing, is you gotta practice your end game just as much as you practice your mid fights in a way. So that's why scrims are really important. If you're scrimming, if you're playing Highlander, just playing DM doesn't do it. You gotta be in those match situations. So this is now 3-3. So Chill to Good did just win that mad fight. Like I said, wins the first round of the half. Trying to show some momentum. And we're still looking at this from Knights of Grill's perspective. I kind of want to look at it like this. See if this works. So I'm expecting Knights of Grills to maybe change it up. Alright, so they do change it up. They decide to go through choke with everyone, except the scout, I think, or someone. Now the enemy